How are we doing, people? Hope you're all having a good weekend. Just a quick video on Chris Eubank Jr. So Boxing News 24 and Bad Left Hook are reporting that Eubank Jr.'s next fight has been announced, and it is against none other than Sven Elbir. Your guess is as good as mine when it comes to this one. This fight is set for October 2nd by the looks of it. I'm sure you're more interested in the opponent. Sven Elbir is 18-1 with 14 wins by knockout. Who the hell is this guy? Who the hell is this? To put it shortly, Chris Eubank Jr. is, at this rate, well on his way to becoming a wasted talent. He's coming off of that 10 rounds unanimous decision victory over Marcus Morrison from back in May, and that was, many people weren't happy that that fight was on pay-per-view, but they kind of gave it a pass given that Eubank Jr. had been out of the ring since December 2019 and was now transitioning to training under Roy Jones. So some people gave it a pass, but this guy, because if we go into his box rec, we see his record: 18-1, 14 wins by knockout. Box rank has him as the 44th middleweight in the world, the second in Germany, so I guess he's kind of redeemed there. This guy has done absolutely nothing in his career. I don't see any recognizable names. And if we actually dig a little bit deeper, in 2018, October of 2018, he lost to Patrick Wojcicki. And then if we go on to Patrick's box rec, that surname's killing me, in 2019, he beat Robert Swiaczynski. Swiaczynski was beaten by Chris Eubank Jr. in May of 2014. So this is essentially, and look, styles make fights, I know, but this is essentially the caliber of opposition that Eubank Jr. was fighting in 2014. So to say that he's not progressing in terms of the opposition he's facing, it's I think it's a legitimate claim, and you really have to wonder where Chris Eubank Jr. is going in his career, because this is someone who for years now has been saying, you know, I give Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez hell on earth. You know, I'm such a tough fight for both of them. Well, prove it. Because, and people say, oh, well, it's not that simple to just make a fight with these guys. You have to prove it. Okay, well, rather than fighting the likes of Sven Elbir, why don't you fight some of the other middleweights? Fight Demetrius Andrade, seeing as Eubank Jr. did work with Eddie Hearn in his last fight, for the Morrison fight. Surely, if you went to her and say, look, get me the Andrade fight, because not only is it a world title fight, but if he beats Andrade, he's the first person to do so, and he's now a champion, so he then has a better chance at fighting the other top guys, or I don't know, a Derevianchenko, or a Suleski, maybe even a Liam Williams, because if he can do a better job on Liam Williams than Andrade did, once again, it makes him look good. So, and I understand Hatman did a video on this about how there's a likelihood that Chris Eubank Jr. fights Erislandy Lara or Murata. As far as I know, Murata seems to be in talks with Golovkin for a fight in December. So maybe you could say that those guys are tied up. But that's no excuse. In the meantime, Chris Eubank Jr. needs to start carving out his own legacy rather than fighting these E-level opposition he was fighting back in 2014. It doesn't make any sense. And from an outsider's perspective, it looks like Chris Eubank Jr., who is a name, somewhat a household name in this country, kind of. A lot of casual fans know about Chris Eubank Jr., who is a very entertaining fighter, and he draws some attention. He's banking on his his marketability and not actually going out to create any or put any pressure on his contemporaries. And he's 31 now. He's 31 and he still hasn't achieved anything. And the thing is, he has the attributes. He is a good fighter. And I don't know how much better he's going to get, but there are certain styles who he's going to put up a good fight against. But at this rate, we're probably never going to see that, because this guy doesn't seem to have much ambition to fight anyone other than Golovkin or Canelo Alvarez, which, look, they are seen as the consensus best in their respective divisions. But you can't wait for them to just point at you and say, come on, let's fight. You have to do something in the meantime. You have to put some pressure on them. You have to basically force them into a corner where they have no other choice but to fight you. But as I say, that isn't what he's doing. So us boxing fans are in for a treat. On October 2nd, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Sven Elbir. There's a little bit of this guy, a little bit of footage of this guy on YouTube. Nothing special. When I say he's the level of opposition Eubank Jr. was fighting years ago, he is. Very basic. Seems to be somewhat a puncher with 14 KOs out of 18 wins. But you look at his record and you see that the caliber of opposition isn't particularly high. And I think the only unbeaten person he fought in Wojcicki beat him. So, yeah, bit of a damning indictment on this poor fellow. But let me know what you think about this fight, if anything. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you on the next video.